Well, hello there, it's Beards and Bangers, and today we're doing another test drive of a classic Rover, something a little bit different to the last one I did. Yes, this afternoon I am looking at a Rover P4. Of course, they weren't called Rover P4s when they were new cars, they were called by their number. This one's a Rover 100, so it's certainly not one of the last Rover P4s, but it's one of the later models. Now, these cars started being built in 1948, and they took over from the Rover P3, which was a Rover's kind of first big post-war saloon car. It was still quite dated in its appearance. I'm adjusting my hat because it's very cold today. Well, I'm very cold at least. But it was Rover's first big project after the Second World War. Of course, car production was halted. And during the Second World War, a lot of them turned over to tank and aircraft production. So it wasn't until 1946 that Rover's P3 came out. And that ran until 1948, when it was succeeded by the P4. Now, it's quite interesting. If you'd have been around in 1964, when these cars stopped being built, at that time you could have bought, brand new, a P4, a P5 or a P6, because there was a massive overlap across all those models, and that was in 1964. So of course this was succeeded by the Rover 2000, and the P5 was the more luxury, larger saloon car that Rover built. I'm just watching what I'm doing because there's cars, I'm in a bit of a turning circle here, but it's such a lovely area and I want to film here. So the first cars, the Rover 75 came with two engine options. You had a 2.1 IOE, so inlet over exhaust straight 6, or the 2.6. This being a Rover 100, it's a slightly later car, so it's still got the 2.6 engine with the inlet over exhaust valve. So we'll have a look under the bonnet in a sec. Let's grab the camera though and have a look over the lines of this classic Auntie Rover. So my grandfather certainly had one of these. I think he had one of the early P4 Cyclops. So the earlier ones had a central spotlight here, so they're called Cyclops cars. But you know it's a Rover 100 because it's got it written on the Viking logo. You've got the actual proper Viking on the bonnet. So this is when Rover really was a luxury brand, before it became watered down and watered down and watered down via British Motor Holdings, British Leyland, Austin Rover. We know the story. I'm not going to dwell on that now because that's a whole different video. But here is I've got some lovely little eyebrows on the headlights, just loads of chrome grille. I've got one of these grills actually in my unit. It's missing the important bit though, the long ship badge. Yeah, beautiful headlights with this kind of almost CND like marker in it. Loads of chrome, side lights and indicators. Got two lots of which we've got proper wing mirrors on this car. We've also got a wing mirror on the door. But just look at it. It's such a lovely shape. Very thick steel. Now the earlier ones of these had aluminium or an alloy bonnet, boot and doors, but this being a slightly later one has got steel doors. I think you still got aluminium boot and bonnet to reduce weight. Of course that was carried forward into the P6 as well. But yeah, look, just lovely sweeping lines, and we've got this bit of a sweep up and a bit of a curvaceous hip going on as we get to the back panel. Yeah, it can only be a Rover P4, this car. They are just seriously lovely looking things. I mean, just look at that. I mean, it's absolutely got a bit of patina, but someone's actually just walked past and they just complimented the car for its patina, because cars aren't museum pieces. They should be loved. So while we're here, we'll try and get into the boot. Although I'm not being very successful at that. Maybe we need the key for that. We'll have a look at the boot in a sec. So what I'll do is I'll pop the bonnet and we'll have a look at this rather interesting engine. So here's our Rover straight 6 engine. So of course this also found its way into the P5 as well, so the earlier P5s before Rover got their hands on the Buick V8 that would later go into them. But isn't it a wonderful looking thing? Look at this. I mean, this induction setup is superb. So we've got a single HS4 SU carburettor, so that's the 1.5 inch carb. These were available. I think it was the 100 or the 105S or 105R. My history escapes me right at the wrong moment. And they were fitted with twin carburettors, but these things are making, I think, around 100 horsepower, so pretty pokey. You've got 6 cylinders. Of course, it being an older car, we've got a Dizzy coil. But yeah, lovely old, look at that bronze top radiator. That is beautiful. Just a proper radiator. No, this isn't some kind of cocktail under the bonnet. It is the screen wash pumps. We've got that there. Wiper motors there. Got our lovely Smith's blower for the fan for your heating, and then we've got a little fresh air vent there with some evil eyes painted into it. But isn't that a lovely engine bay? And there's that, yeah, rather interesting Rover IOE straight six. So this is a 2.6, I think a 2625 cc's, something like that. But you've actually got the firing order written on the exhaust. I just touched the hot exhaust manifold, which is really silly. But you've got the firing order written on there, so it saves you having to put little bits of tape with numbers written on it. Yeah, great big oil filter down there, starter motors down there. Yeah, isn't that wonderful? Just look, you got that was it chrome, what's that, valve cover or something there on the side? Apps, you know, you wouldn't get this on a later engine, even an A series. This is when Rover was a seriously pristine. You know, if you owned a Rover back in the 1960s, you were doing all right. You were probably a doctor or an accountant or something like that. So there is the engine bay, absolutely superb. I love just love it. Really nice. And a massive thank you to Alex from Alex's Assets for lending me this car, even though it's actually Simon from Smashing Pistons who's lending me this car, because Alex is lending it to him. So it's a lot of lending going on. You actually lift that. It's a bit of a strange door handle, that, but we've managed to get in. So here's our boot. We've got this interesting slope going on. Obviously plenty of space. I mean, look, there's plenty of kind of emergency bits and bops in there, cleaning stuff, emergency fuel can, bit of a cover. These cars actually have a muff for the winter just to keep the radiator warm, and yeah, you fit these in the winter time. Obviously it's a bit well, it was a bit more spring like. It's bloody freezing now. Let's jump on in. I think that's shut. We'll soon know if it's not when we drive off. So if we jump in, I mean, the first thing you're greeted with is all the red leather. Absolutely superb. Chunky door for the period, nice little armrest there in leather, feels lovely. Door furniture is lovely. Quarter lights, oh what a thing, British cars, quarter lights. Your door pull, your door handle, your windy window winder is all beautiful. Of course, one of the things that P4s are famous for is this bench seat. So if you are courting, we'll put that in the ignition so we don't lose it. There we are. You can see where the key goes now. But isn't it just a wonderful place to be? Superb in the back, loads and loads of room. Hopefully, I can show you that this time rather than dipping that into the back of the seat. But yeah, loads of headroom. I'm actually got quite long-bodied, even though I'm a fairly short person. I've got a good bit of clearance there. And of course, my hats are making me look taller than I actually am, or making my head look longer than it actually is. But isn't it wonderful? Not the most cluttered dashboard. We've got a sort of all-in-one. What have we got? Temperature. We've got amps. We've got fuel. We've got speedo there. No rev counter, but don't really need one of those. We're driving sedately in this. We've got our gear change. Of course, the earlier P4s had a column-mounted gear change with a very strange linkage, so it's quite complicated, I think, for drivers. So it was changed eventually. We've got oil level checker. We've got panel lights. We can actually turn our panel lights on separately of the headlights. Wipers there. We've got our petrol, and of course, being a Rover, we've got a reserve petrol tank. Headlights are there. This isn't our indicator. This is our overdrive selector, which we will have a go at in a moment. Indicator, of course, is here. This one, I'm not sure what that is, but we'll work it out. The horn is superb. That is what a car's horn should sound like. We've got, oops, press it again by mistake. Period style radio, but that's one of these ones that looks period, but it's actually quite modern because it's got USB and telephone controls and that kind of stuff. We have got our fresh air vents. That's fed by that pickup that we saw under the bonnet, and then we've actually got a full heater, and then we've got our rather snazzy, interestingly positioned. We can just about see the linkage down here. So you've got the kind of this lovely chromed piece here, but there's another linkage going off down there. So we'll actually give it a drive in a minute. The handbrake on this is a bit fruity. You put your foot on the the foot brake, and then you engage this lever here. But we'll leave the car in gear, because if it's not in gear, there's a danger it will roll. Even though these cars have actually got drums on the back, which normally provide better handbraking, but you've actually got Girling disc brakes on the front of these. This was an improvement to a midlife on the P4, is they went from having discs up front to drums up front to discs up front. So lots of wood, lots of leather. It's red. The one thing that YouTube doesn't do is allow you to smell what this car smells like. And the one thing that, you know, is great with P4s is they just smell so lovely. It can only be a P4. It can only be a Rover. I wish you could sit in this and smell it. But if you ever do get a chance to sit in one of these or own one or drive one, I've not got the best sense of smell in the world, but I know I'm sitting. If you blindfolded me and put me in this car, I'd know what car I was sitting in, because it's got a very distinctive smell. I don't know where they got the leather from to make these, but it was obviously something very distinctive, breed of cow or something like that. But it's just a lovely interior, really nice place to sit. I know Simon has had this car for a few weeks now and has been thoroughly enjoying his long-term loan that he's got. But I'm going to get out and give it a drive myself now. One thing I didn't show you was that this car still got the original handbook. Look at that. Look at that. Isn't that superb? With lots of imperial measurements and mentions of tool trays and stuff like that you just don't get. Look at that glove box. I didn't show you the glove box actually. Look at that. Decent sized cubby there for all your bits and bobs. Right, let's go for a drive. Right, it's not often I can actually do a test drive at this angle, but we're going to give the car, he says, make sure I've got the right key. So we hopefully will be able to start it in a minute. Have I got it in the right? No, I didn't have it the right way. Spring straight into life. That's rather good. Right, get this rather strange handbrake off. Wait for this. Is my handbrake off? I've got a red light on the dashboard. Now, I'm told there's a few idiosyncrasies even with this. Am I even in gear? What gear am I in? Oh, that engine. I imagine getting used to where that gear is much of higher up and further over, so I imagine it takes a little bit of getting used to. That's from reverse, right. First, second, right. So reverse is incredibly easy to get into. Let's make sure there's no one behind me. Here we go. Yeah, that gear, you of course you would get used to it, but that is superb. I thought this would be quite hard work to drive, but having driven a few Series 1, 2, 2A and lightweight Land Rovers in my time, that's actually a lot easier. We're not wandering all over the road. It's just the sound, hopefully you can pick it up through the microphones, but it just sounds absolutely lovely. Wiper, we turn and we've got some, the most delightful little, look at those windscreen wipers. Hopefully the camera's picking those up, but they're lovely little things. And all lovely old Bakelite switches. And notice they were flapping and flapping, but then they park actually on the scuttle panel, so they're actually off the glass, which is quite unusual. I think I was at a car show with Simon maybe last year or the year before, we sort of remarked on it, but didn't actually know the reason. Now I'm going to try and get it into overdrive. Don't know if that's actually done anything, but we'll get our lovely little wipers on again. We'll just leave it in fourth, but that is a dream to drive, and it is so comfy. Yeah, we're okay. We're finding our way with the steering a little bit, but I think it was about a year ago I drove was it a Series 1 or no? It was a Series 1 Land Rover, and I used to own a Series 1 Land Rover, and I'm going back best part of 30 years, and that was not that much fun to drive. But this is lovely. This is really, really nice. And the smells, you've now got the leather. If I could describe the smell to you, You've got the leather mixed with a slightly carburettory, burnt exhaust fuel smell, which is part of driving a classic car. It really is. It's a lovely heady aroma. How are the brakes? Pretty sharp. Yeah, so if you're going to buy it, the one thing I'll just caveat is just be careful that there's no gate for getting into reverse, or it's certainly bloody easy to get into reverse, so please do be careful. But I'm having rather a nice time just pottering around in this. It's not too I mean, the weather's not great. If only this was a week ago when we had blazing, I don't know what it was like up here, but down south we had blazing sunshine and it was beautiful. That gearbox is it's got a bit of an interesting thing, bit of an interesting linkage thingy going on there, but actually now the one bit of feedback Simon's given me is he's putting quite a lot of fuel in it, so the returns MPG wise are probably not that great. I haven't got a clue. I don't really care what the actual numbers are, but it's yeah, probably not the most economical car to run. But while some people, believe it or not, do drive these as dailies, because then they've got enough grunt and enough stopping power to cope with modern traffic. Well, I say that some of the idiots we've got on the road these days, it's maybe not quite the right thing to say now, but most of these are going to be summertime cars that people look after and only bring out once a year. Excuse the noise from the quarter lights, but it is lovely having those open. Just put the choke, got a bit of choke out, so we'll just pop that all the way in now. I don't think that's going to be needed, but yeah, all the gauges are where they should be. Just over half a tank of fuel. Temperature needle is smack bang in the centre, which is exactly where we want it. Don't even look at those sun visors. Look at those. Aren't they superb? Aren't they absolutely lovely? And of course you've got a very robust headlining that's very well adhered to the roof, so that's not going to go anywhere anytime soon. Yeah, but that's going beautifully. I'm not going to. I don't know what speed I'm going, because of course the speedo does not work, which is given for an old British car. But I'm hoping we're going to come to a roundabout in a minute so I can turn round, because I don't want to go too far and waste too much of Simon's petrol. But I'm almost certain there's a roundabout fairly soon. But would I have one of these? Yeah, I would. I do favour the P6. I'm a big fan of the P6. But I would absolutely have one. It would have to be a 6-cylinder, because I love a 6-cylinder. And going back to the history of these, of course, they started out as 6-cylinder cars, but later down the line they launched the Rover 60, which had a 4-cylinder, I think 2.3 litre straight 4 engine. So they did always have 3 variants: a lower powered sort of budget entry one to get everyone interested, a medium powered 6-cylinder, and then of course top of the range like this one would have been with the full fat 6-cylinder engine, the 2.6. But this is just great. I think I know where we are. I think that's a Royd wind farm up ahead, and I'm pretty certain there's a roundabout. I used to hope there's a roundabout coming up fairly soon. Right, so we'll try and give you a bit of a driver's eye. That's reverse. Try and give you a bit of a driver's eye view now. Beginning to. It always takes a little while getting used to a different car, particularly an older car that you've not driven before. But I'm beginning to like it. But I really want you to just get an appreciation of hopefully the sounds. I hope that my microphones are picking the lovely engine noise up. And I unfortunately wasn't recording, but it's got a lovely exhaust kind of note coming out of that roundabout. There we are. So pretty bit too much choke now, so just a bit of overrun, but that's gone away. But just looking over that lovely all curves, this car, it's very curvaceous car. So if you like skinny girls, you're probably unlikely to like this car. But you've definitely got to like lumps, bumps and shapes in all the right places, and this car certainly has got that with aplomb. I'm not mounting a camera on the outside of the car today because these suction mounts for some reason aren't very happy, and with older cars where you've got 2-pack paint rather than clear coat, they sometimes fall off, as happened when I was driving Chris's MGB last year. So what I'll do is I'm going to just get you up this hill so you can see what it's like from my point of view sitting in the driver's seat, and then we shall conclude this video. But yeah, this part of Yorkshire, we're in South Yorkshire, so historically this would have been the West Riding back in the day. But when it is cloudy and sunny as it is now, the landscape is just so dramatic. It really, I mean, it's just a much. I don't live in the south. I live in what I would call the South Midlands, and people are, you know, you're getting nearer London. We're still sort of 50 miles from London, but people have still got that sort of unfriendly, I'm going to get on with my life, sod you kind of attitude. But up here, everyone's like, hello, how are you doing? Oh, look at this car, isn't it wonderful? Whereas down south, it'd be like, what the bloody hell's that, mate? What the flip's that? I've not seen one of those on Grand Theft Auto. But yeah, real nice landscape. I really enjoy test driving cars up in this neck of the woods, because it's always always pleasurable. I really can't get the overdrive. Simon did explain to me how to get the overdrive working, but I'm not getting any joy out of it. So we'll just potter along here gently and get this thing back in one piece so he can get it back to his house. Simon's actually out driving my BMW as we speak. But yeah, what a lovely part of the world. Really nice, but ideal for driving a car like this. So let's get back to Wortley and I will give you my final thoughts on this rather nice specimen. Little addition actually before I get back and conclude it. It's got some pickups. So this Golf was taking its time pulling away from some lights. I could see what was happening. So I always try and anticipate quite a lot when I'm in a car like this. And so I held back, but I was just in third, just double declutch down to third. Slight uphill gradient. This car pulls. It really. Let's just do it again, just for the benefit of you viewers. Second time in a week I've had doing a Rover test drive, and I've had a boring Golf driving in a boring fashion. It's got some legs. I mean, it's 2.6 straight six. Of course, it's only single carburettor, so it's not massively high powered, but it really. I mean, you've got a lot of torque, but it's. I don't know what. I think I'm doing 50 miles an hour. I think, but the acceleration's really quite good for a car that's from the around 1960. It's incredible. It seems highly appropriate to park Jessie in front of a stately home to conclude this video, because the Rover P4, even though it wasn't a full-size car, it was a middle-sized car, if we're going to use modern car parlance, they are very stately, they're very graceful. I mean, I've just been, the state of the roads out there are bloody awful, as we know. British roads are terrible at the moment, but this thing just wafts over them. So when you think of Rover, you know, for me, this is the Rover, because it's the one that everyone kind of remembers of a certain generation. Maybe my generation think more of the SD1. So if you're going to test drive or think about buying one of these, don't think you're getting an SD1 Vitesse twin plenum, because it's a different animal. This thing is to be gracefully and sedately wafted around in. You're not looking for massive acceleration, even though it's actually quite not a sprightly car, but it pulls well. It's got some real good go. But even little things, I just noticed, I couldn't really show you when I'm driving along, but you know, normally these wing mirrors mounted in the exact right place, what we should call them, on the wing, they're normally vibrating so much that you can't see anything out of them. But this is just, you know, you can even use the wing mirrors are usable, which is highly unusual on an old car. They're just really, really usable, comfortable. That's the main thing. Got that lovely bench seat, absolutely superb. Didn't even look at the wheel trims there. Look at those, absolutely beautiful with the Longship on there, and a nice little dice as our valve cover. What a superb car. I could have gone into more detail, but there's other people, namely the owner of this car, who's far more knowledgeable about this kind of thing than I am. But if you get a chance to just go out in one, please take it, just for the smell, if nothing else. If you're thinking about buying one and you're happy just to have a car to potter around in, you know, fairly sedately, but in comfort and in, I'd say, quite some style, go for one. Really, really good. Would I have one? Of course I bloody would. I always say that though. Thank you for watching. If you like what you've seen, don't forget to hit like and subscribe with the bell notification if you don't already do so. Give us a thumbs up, drop a comment down below, share with your friends, and I'll see you again ever so soon on the next episode of Beards and Bangers. Goodbye. Jess says goodbye as well.